So all in, I spend around $7,500 per month in Singapore. Hello, welcome to a new video. If you are new here, my name is Amandine. I've been living in Singapore for more than 5 years now, and on this channel I like to share about anything that's happening in Singapore. Today is all about how much I spend living in Singapore for a month. So I've recorded my expenses for the month of October. I'll let you know the breakdown and also share with you what you can expect to pay depending on your lifestyle. Because of course budgets are personal, but I think it will give you a very realistic picture of the cost of living in Singapore. Let's start with the biggest expenses for most people in Singapore: housing. I currently rent a condo apartment and my boyfriend and I are renting the master bedroom. The total rent for the apartment is $4,000 and the master room is $2,200, so my share is $1,100. Then there is the utilities, which we split. So for my share in October it was $61 and for internet it was $15. We also have a cleaner that comes twice a month for 3 hours. I pay for it, so that's another $178 for me. Now for what you can expect if you have a tighter budget, what you can do is instead of renting a room in a condo, you can rent a room in a HDB. Usually the rental is gonna be between $800 to $1,200 per month, depending on the location. You can also choose to rent an entire HDB unit. In that case, the rental is gonna be between $2,500 to $3,500 per month, again depending on the location. Condos like mine usually start from $3,000 for 1 bedroom and can go up to $4,000, $6,000 for a 2 or 3 bedrooms. If you rent a room in a condo, it can be from $1,200 to $2,500, depending if it's the common room, the master bedroom, or if you are sharing a bathroom. If you want something more premium like a landed property, that's usually $8,000 per month and up. So as you can see, housing in Singapore can vary a lot depending on what you choose, sharing a room versus getting your own apartment. So this is something that you will have to decide at some point depending on your budget and your future plans. Next on our budget is food, and this is where Singapore gives you the flexibility. I spend about $686 on eating out and $261 on groceries. I try to cook at least once a week, and the rest is hawker centers, restaurants and cafes. I work in CBD, so the meals tend to be slightly more expensive than normal. Like I spend around $12 on my lunch usually, but most people would probably just spend about $8 because a hawker meal costs between $5 to $7. A casual restaurant from $10 to $20, and if you go until a nice dinner, then it's probably gonna be from $40 to $100. Concerning the groceries, for one person it can go roughly from $200 to $400 depending on your diet, and especially if you are buying imported goods. Yes, cheese costs a lot. So if you eat mostly local food, your monthly food budget can stay around $800. But if you like restaurants and Western foods, then it can easily go up. Concerning the transportation, that's where maybe I'm not a good example for you because I walk a lot because I live near my office. But for other occasions, I still use this public transport, buses and MRTs because they are just so convenient. So I just spend about $100 on transportation, and this includes like a few Grab rides. If you take the MRT or the bus, usually a ride costs between $1 to $2.5 per trip, so quite affordable. If you are planning on taking the Grab or the taxi more often, then maybe expect more $200 to $300 per month on transportation. An off-peak ride is just about $15, but it can go up to $40. That's why for most people, public transport is the most popular option. It's cheap, it's safe, and it's even fully air conditioned. From my work, I have health insurance that's covering my doctor visit and my medication, but still I have to pay for my birth bill, and I like to go massage to try to correct my posture, so I've put that under health. Healthcare itself in Singapore is quite pricey, especially if you don't have an insurance. If you go for a general practitioner visit, it's gonna be $50 to $80. maybe $20 if you do it online. So definitely having an insurance will help a lot with the cost. Under health, I didn't include gym membership because personally I pay for PT package, so it's already paid. I don't pay monthly, but usually a gym membership is between $200 to $300 per month. Concerning the subscription, it's not really specific to Singapore. You will have your own, but for me, it's things like iCloud, streaming platforms, and some content tool that I use for my YouTube and for my Instagram. There isn't really a subscription that I got specifically because I was in Singapore. Depending on what you use and what shared account you have, it's usually between like maybe $50 to $100. So let's do a little recap here only concerning the necessities to live in Singapore. So housing, food, transportation, health, and subscription. I spend about $2,760 per month. That's what I would call a comfortable but not extravagant lifestyle in Singapore, because we made some choices to make sure our budget is staying under control, like sharing our apartment. Now for the very variable part, this is going to be different for everyone and probably for every month. We are going to see things like shopping, taxes, investment. I'm going to give you the example of what I spent in October. So for example, on shopping, I spent $972. To be fair, I was just back from France, so I was really excited to be in Singapore, so I did go a bit more shopping. I also bought the new iPhone, so that's part of that budget. So you can understand that some months are going to be lower and some other months are going to be higher. But this shopping budget really includes things like clothes, skincare, maybe small tech, and things for the house. Overall, I think in Singapore there is always the opportunity to buy something or treat yourself to like a haircut or nail salon. So I think this almost $1,000, it's quite a good number to represent that. I mean, usually you're gonna see what's left after you have paid your bills and paid your investment. That's gonna be like your shopping or travel budget. I do have a small part of my budget that is also going towards donation. So every month I choose like maybe a cause that I want to donate to. It's a small thing, but it's part of my regular spending. That's why I include it in that budget. It's something that I've started to do on a regular basis since I'm in Singapore, because they make it really easy on giving.sg. You can check the current donation campaign that are running and you can just choose one and donate. Now for the more adult part of this budget in Singapore, we have the taxes, insurance, and investment. Every month I set aside $707 on taxes, $359 on insurance, and $2,525 on investment. In Singapore, when it's time to pay for your taxes, you have the choice to pay in full or to go for 10 months installments. So that's what I prefer and that's what I do. So that's what this amount corresponds to. Concerning the insurance, my workplace is already providing me with one insurance, but I just have this additional one to cover for critical illness. And then concerning my investment, I have two that I have to actively pay every month. So I have one with AIA and I have one with Prudential that I sign through my bank. Because Singapore has a low tax system, technically the money that you save on taxes can be used to invest in building your wealth and your retirement. So that's what I'm trying to do with regular investment. If you're trying to guess how much you're gonna pay in taxes, you can check online, but basically the rates for income tax are progressive. Is between 0 to 24% depending on the income you earn. If you are trying to get your own health insurance or an additional maybe life insurance, usually the premiums are going to be starting from like 200 to up to like maybe 400 and more depending on the coverage. And then concerning the investment, those are totally personal depending on how much you earn and what are your goals, whether you want to buy a house or you are just saving for retirement. You can always start small and go bigger, but it's better that you go see like a financial advisor so that they are better able to advise you. But that's it for the things that are included in my budget. So all in, I spend about $7,467 per month living in Singapore. But remember that a big part is going into taxes and investments, not day-to-day spending. If I count what I actually use on housing, food, and daily life, it's about $2,700 to $3,000 per month. So depending how comfortable you want your life to be in Singapore, your budget is gonna vary a lot. I'm giving you here some ranges of budget depending on the lifestyle. I would say overall living in Singapore isn't cheap, but the quality of life, the safety, the convenience are really high. So that was my full budget living in Singapore. Hopefully this helps you estimate what your budget will look like, whether you are moving here soon or you are just curious about what's the life as an expat here. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe and tell me in the comment how much do you think you would spend living in Singapore. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye bye.